A popular weight loss drug called Ozempic.
Ozempic. It is literally the hottest drug in the country right now.
Is absolutely exploding in popularity. It's so popular that Walmart, the world's largest grocer, recently blamed the drug for a drop in its revenue. So how effective is it at helping you lose weight? Studies are showing an average of a 15% decrease in body weight when you're taking the drug. And knowing that you're probably a cyclist while watching this, I bet that little detail just got your attention. The craziest part, as of this recording, WADA, or the World Anti-Doping Agency, does not consider Ozempic a banned substance. Yep, that's right, a perfectly legal way to just drop 15% of your body weight and improve that power to weight ratio.
Or is it?
What's the catch? And if you're already taking Ozempic while training, what should you know? And should a drug this effective actually be banned? Drop a comment telling me what you think at first, and sit back and get ready as we dig into the science so you don't have to, because this one gets wild. Ozempic is a brand of the drug Semaglutide, and Semaglutide is a form of a medication known as a peptide. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and they do various jobs in our bodies, influencing everything from hormone control to digestion. Put it more simply, imagine that your body is a giant city and the cells within your body are the people living in the city. Peptides are like text messages that allow people to talk to each other and tell them what to do. In recent years, the use of man-made peptides like this has been exploding. And the range of peptides you can get is astounding, covering everything from peptides that make you more tan all the way to semaglutide. Semaglutide is designed to mimic a natural peptide in your body called GLP-1. GLP-1 is released in your body after you eat, and it helps control blood sugar and makes you feel full. But in 2021, it was approved for use under a doctor's prescription as a weight loss drug under the name Ozempic. And quite simply, it works by tricking your brain into thinking that you are full and don't need to eat as much. And unlike a lot of things that you can do or take to try to improve performance, the studies are basically unanimous that Ozempic is very effective when it comes to weight loss. Cycling performance is heavily influenced by your power to weight ratio. So the natural question is, how much could Ozempic improve your power to weight ratio and in turn your performance on the bike? To figure that out, let's look at the famous climb Alpe d'Huez. According to Strava, Sepp Kuss has the fastest time at 39 minutes 21 seconds. Now I weigh 150 pounds or 68 kilograms, and if I did this climb at 307 watts or just over my FTP, it would take me 50 minutes and 28 seconds and I would have a 146th place time. But if I took semaglutide and lost 15% of my body weight, I would have a time of 44 minutes and 51 seconds. An 11% improvement on my time and enough to push me into the top 20. And with that, see y'all later. I'm gonna quit my day job and become a pro cyclist.
That's my dream.
Okay, but seriously, that sort of improvement is absolutely insane. But it's probably also an irresponsible assumption, and here's why. Yes, there are risks and costs to taking semaglutide, but we'll get to those in a bit. First, we need to look at the research. Since 2021, there's been an ongoing series of research papers published as the STEP trials. These are huge, multi-year studies looking into the effects of semaglutide on diabetics and non-diabetic clinically obese individuals. And this is where that 15% average weight loss comes from. But here's the rub. Some of these studies do have a conflict of interest being funded by manufacturers of these drugs. But second and more importantly, these studies are not being carried out on fit individuals. And we need to talk about that. It seems that there's a total lack of research on what this drug does to fit people like athletes or pro cyclists. So that 15% body weight reduction is likely an overestimation. And on top of that, remember how this thing makes you lose weight. One of its main mechanisms is to suppress hunger signals, and for a cyclist, particularly a pro cyclist, that could be disastrous. Let's assume you're a pro and have a 375 watt FTP. During your biggest training weeks, you're likely to burn upwards of 6,000 calories a day. And if you're not replenishing those energy stores because you always feel full, you're going to plateau, run out of energy, and likely just get slower. But I know what you're thinking.
I can read your mind.
Why not just take it on your rest weeks when you don't have to eat as much? Well, turns out that the half-life of semaglutide is very long, which is why it's so effective as a drug. But that also means that just taking it during a recovery week is still likely to have lasting effects for 4 to 6 weeks after that. Now, there are some studies that show smaller but still significant weight loss with just 50% doses, but the half-life is still long, and again, we don't know how this would affect fit individuals. So while this does seem like a slam dunk at first glance, you'd likely have to be an absolute robot in terms of managing your nutrition by the numbers instead of natural signals. And that just seems unsustainable. unsustainable and a recipe for a disastrous relationship with food. And that's before we even get to the real risks of taking semaglutide. Commonly reported side effects include gastrointestinal stress, and it's significant enough that it's typically recommended that you build up your dosage slowly over the course of a month. But more worrisome than that is a portion of the weight loss does not come from fat, it comes from lean mass or muscle. Now, in most cases of significant weight loss, lean mass loss is common. But if this drug does indeed cause a uniquely high amount of muscle loss, that could be disastrous for a pro cyclist trying to carefully maintain their power to weight ratio. But perhaps the most concerning thing is just the novelty of this drug. As of now, we have no clue what the long-term risks are for taking semaglutide. And while some studies in rats have shown an increase in occurrence of thyroid cancer, rats aren't humans and humans aren't rats. But the point is, there's a big risk of the unknown here. And in situations where this drug is taken by diabetics or clinically obese individuals, taking this drug seems like a justifiable risk, considering the more immediate and dangerous risks of those conditions. But for fit individuals, the risks of taking semaglutide are much harder to justify. But what if you're a pro cyclist with millions of dollars on the line? Yes, semaglutide is typically administered with injections, but that no needle policy doesn't seem to get in the way of doping. And what's more, there are oral versions of this drug. And hearing that pro cyclists have ordered old headlights from a junkyard to inhale xenon gas, or more recently, ordering worm blood for transfusions, what? Makes me think that pro cyclists would have absolutely no qualms taking something like this that seems relatively low risk and high reward. And that's where we have to discuss why the heck this drug is not on WADA's list of banned substances. WADA lays out 3 reasons for declaring a substance as a performance-enhancing drug worth banning. Number 1, it represents an actual or potential risk to the health of the athlete. So far, this drug seems relatively safe compared to something like clenbuterol, so maybe this box just isn't checked by this drug. Number 2, it has the potential to enhance or already enhances sports performance. And as we cover with our example up Alpe d'Huez, yeah, this one improves performance. Number 3, it violates the spirit of sport. Now this one seems to deal with a fair and level playing field, and this is where things get really complicated. In terms of access, you're supposed to only get access to this drug through a doctor's prescription. But not only are there countless examples of that being circumnavigated, but there are also entire websites where you can go and purchase peptides for whatever reason you have, as long as you are, quote, using them for research purposes. But even though they could be easy to get, semaglutide drugs are insanely expensive, ranging anywhere from nearly $1,000 to $2,000 per month. But do those sort of costs really matter to pro cycling teams with multi-million-dollar budgets? Think about it. If you spend $24,000 annually per rider on an 8-man team at the Tour de France, and it ends up helping you win, and remember, as of now, it's totally legal, I feel like you'd be kind of foolish not to take advantage of that. But when you get to the amateur ranks, that's an entirely different story. There are wide ranges of expendable incomes amongst amateur athletes. And while some wouldn't even blink an eye at spending $24,000 for this sort of benefit every year, others simply would never be able to justify that cost. And that just doesn't seem fair. But then again, that operates on the assumption that this sport has a level playing field to begin with. And that just really isn't true. The cyclist that was born with great genetics, or has access to high quality nutrition and training environments, or has all the time in the world to train, has a massive advantage over other athletes. So what do you think? Should this drug be on the banned list? And if so, why hasn't it been banned yet? In the end, as of now, we really have no idea how beneficial this drug would be for fit athletes. So at best, it seems like it's just an extremely expensive gamble to take. But you know what isn't expensive and not a gamble at all? TrainerRoad. It's only $19 a month, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and it uses AI to constantly adjust your training to give you the right workout at the right time. And unlike semaglutide, there's a mountain of evidence showing that for cyclists that want to get faster, it works. See for yourself with over 17,000 reviews in the App Store with over a 4.9 star rating. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? People in over 150 countries are using it every day to get faster. That's all for this time. Talk to you on the next one.